Somebody get those clouds out of my way for the next few minutes. It gonna get ugly. I've already looked at the radar. Yee. Hometown meteorologist James Spann is gonna break out the suspenders. Damn. I knew I should have practiced that line. It never happens, though. Welcome to Beyond Ringside Live on this beautiful Wednesday afternoon. 6th day of May. I am going to resist the urges to say the Revenge of the Sith and all the 6th and all that good crap. I was hiding on May 4th, legitimately speaking. No, I wasn't. I was actually working, but I was hiding in plain sight, which I do very well. So may the 4th be with you, Revenge of the 5th, and all the other Star Wars stuff. And I'm not going to do the Justin Timberlake crap. I'll let somebody else handle that one. From the undisclosed location known as Studio 35, yours truly, the Magic City Motor Mouth, Fast Eddie Lane. Let's do this thing. Welcoming in tag team partners, the Trivia Master, the promoter, Shane Knowles.
As I told people at Trivia, may the 5th be with you, whether that be Jack, Jim, or Crown.
Yes! And you got me on 2 out of 3. Jack Daniels and Crown Royal, I'm there. Jim Beam, that's still an acquired taste I've been working on for about 40 years. Welcoming in tag team partner, the voice beyond the red zone, the Jamestown Tarp Skunks, he is Ted Guinness.
We asked 100 people
what they would do if the microphone went dead halfway through the question.
No, that's it. We just asked 100 people.
I know. I saw you stop. It's like, he's doing this one.
Yeah, I'm not going to say what we asked them because it's none of your business. But wanted to let everybody know we did ask 100 people.
Exactly, and 101 answered. There was that one person with a split personality.
Damn it, Doug!
How do you think that works on the survey? Do they send out emails to people in the first 100 who answer? They put that together as their category, or do they do like Jay Leno did jaywalking, where they go out on the street and survey 100 people?
Well, I believe they actually poll the studio audience that is in there with questions that they want to use, and they'll bring those questions out down the road. So the audience who's sitting in that crowd today may get hit with 3, 4, 5 questions that'll end up being used about 2-3 months down the road. That way there can't be a bleed over. By the time those questions cycle through and get up into rotation, everybody who was at that show that day is like, when's the question going to hit? So that would be part of it. Because I remember hearing something about that one time. Plus, they do actually do the man on the street stuff and, focus groups as well, I'm sure. If you want to be a part of a Family Feud 100-person survey, nope, sorry, you're 106th. Come back next time. I'm going to go and break this one out, and this is one that I've heard recently on Family Feud, and I'm going to do this one. It's going to stay in rotation over here in the Beyond Ringside family. You've just arrived in hell. What is the one thing you forgot to bring with you, or that you wish you would have brought with you? Shane?
Ice cubes.
Ted?
Bullfrog suntan lotion.
Because it is hell, I'm bringing the Backstreet Boys greatest hits. That way I get silence. I don't have to hear anything. I can just put on the headphones and ignore everybody. It's like, what you listening to? Backstreet Boys greatest hits? How come there's no music? I just answered your question.
Well, see, here's the thing. Here's where your logic fails.
Okay.
So you're in hell, right?
Yes.
You don't necessarily have to have the Backstreet Boys. You just have to tell people you have the Backstreet Boys because you got the earbuds in your ears. No one else can hear. So you could be rocking out to AC/DC and telling everybody you're listening to the Backstreet Boys.
And yes, you'd already be lying. You'd be in hell, so you're not going to go further into hell for telling that lie.
Bingo.
If you're in hell with headphones, you're probably listening to George Strait's song, A Fire I Can't Put Out.
No, you're listening to the Baby Shark on loop.
What does the fox say?
I would rather listen to What Would the Fox Say on Infinite Loop than Baby Shark.
Yeah, I know. I sit back and I listen. I hear Baby Shark, and the first thing pops in my head is Gabriel Iglesias and the bit that he did. I think Dodger Stadium or something like that. It's like, because I'm a giver. Tremendous comedian. Go ahead.
I think of Baby Shark, so
SHART. Did you just shart that one?
Yeah.
Okay. Leading off this, first off, before we go any further, thank you to everybody tuning in through BeyondRingside.com, ProWrestlingRadio.net, TuneIn Radio, TuneIn mobile app, Radio.net in and of itself, as well as Streama. And for those who actually followed the QR code, it was a real thing. And this one stayed active for more than 2 weeks after I paid for it. So great appreciation on that one as well. We joined the world, especially the broadcasting world, entertainment world, in the celebration of life of one Mr. Ted Turner. I'm going to step back out of the way and go third in this list. I'm going to turn it over to Shane Knowles first, if you would.
Ted Turner passing away this morning as we are live Wednesday, May 6th at the age of 87. I have so many thoughts that came to mind. I'm grateful for this platform to talk about them here. You know, there's millions of pro wrestling fans that maybe to this day don't realize just how much of what they loved growing up existed because of Ted Turner. I think there's a whole generation of fans. Wrestling on his channel, TBS at 6:05, wasn't just another television show like Andy Griffith, which was shown many an Atlanta Brave rain delay. It was a part of life. I mean, people planned around 6:05. People rushed home from it. There were a lot of territories around the country that came and went, but Ted Turner Station gave pro wrestling like consistency and helped turn regional stars into national names. I look at Tommy Rich as one of those. You know, and in the 80s, you know, when you had Vince McMahon aggressively expanding and territories were going by the wayside, I'd like to say thank you, Ted Turner, for stepping in and purchasing Jim Crockett Promotions, which eventually became WCW, because at least for when he purchased, 1988 to 2001, for 13 more years, we had a viable national competitor to, at the time, the World Wrestling Federation. Without Ted Turner, we don't have the Monday Night Wars. We don't have a lot of things. And I'm not saying he was involved in the booking, but certainly his influence and his checkbook, you know, they were the only wrestling company powerful enough to challenge WWE on a national level, for years. I mean, you had kids everywhere, and I was one of them, arguing about WWF versus WCW rivalries like it was sports. Giving Eric Bischoff a platform to do Nitro, to go head-to-head with Raw. You can't say Ric Flair. Maybe you can't say Sting because he came into the Jim Crockett Promotions, but certainly flourished. But the number of guys who, even though they had started on the territories in professional wrestling, who got their first chance at stardom are being known nationwide include Steve Austin, Mick Foley, Triple H, The Undertaker, Goldberg, Diamond Dallas Page, the Giant / the Big Show. So many people. I don't, because of him being able to do Nitro, I think we would have just been relegated to tape trading in magazines as far as seeing like Psychosis, Juventud Guerrera, Rey Mysterio. We got an opportunity under that umbrella to see so much through that. Also with Ted Turner moving away from pro wrestling, I am not an Atlanta Braves fan. I don't dislike them, but I've certainly grown up in Braves country. And Braves country, the Atlanta Braves became America's team in baseball via being on Ted Turner's CBS Superstation, beginning in 1973, with Ted Turner even purchasing the Atlanta Braves in 1976. And as Eddie and I talked about earlier today, managed the Atlanta Braves for one game. When they were in the midst of a 16-game losing streak, we talk about Arthur Blank and Jerry Jones to this day. Ted Turner did it. He didn't just stand on the sidelines and act like the owner or the coach. He came down and coached the team, managed the team, a 2-1 loss to the Pittsburgh Pirates, extending a losing streak to 17 until he got the call from the commissioner's office, no more. But also on the Atlanta Hawks, the Atlanta Flames. He had every Atlanta Pro Sports franchise outside of the Atlanta Falcons. And then I think, too, just in television in general, maybe to borrow a line from the Barbara Mandrell song, Ted Turner was cable when cable wasn't cool. He started the first ever 24-hour news station with CNN, Cartoon Network, Boomerang, Captain Planet and the Planeteers. Whatever you think of that show, he was there behind it for kids to, learn about the environment. So much, when you talk about legacy, I mean, my goodness, at one point he was the largest landowner in the United States. I think at the time of his death, he was still third with over 2.2 million acres of land. I mean, nowhere near what the federal government owns, but third most in the country. Just kind of, I would just say a trailblazer, a rascal. I think Ted Turner always, it's always still seeing you in public light, still have that little kid smile and rambunctious personality about him. But there's so many things tied with pro wrestling, professional sports, news, television, how we watch and consume television. A lot of that goes back to one Ted Turner.
Ted Guinness.
I mean, Shane covered most of everything that I could have covered and did it a lot cleaner and a lot better than I could. Where I will go with Ted Turner, and probably, the biggest, I would say the biggest maverick in terrestrial media history.
Mm-hmm.
As a man who generated incredible amounts of revenue and got to a position where he could do whatever he wanted because he owned the airwaves. He wanted to put the Atlanta Braves on nationwide. He could do that. He wanted to start a Cartoon Network. He could do that. He wanted to marry Jane Fonda. That's probably the only knock on him that I have. But he was a brilliant businessman, and never one to just, nope, can't do it. It was always, how do we do it? And it's that kind of attitude that a lot of entrepreneurs nowadays that end up failing just don't have. It's, a hurdle is thrown up in front of them and a lot of people will back off. Turner would just get into a bulldozer and drive right through it, laughing while smoking a cigar and drinking cognac. Probably the biggest impact that Turner had for me outside of the WCW, NWO, WWF, Monday Night Wars is we harken back to 1993, what most sports writers would call the last great pennant race. And I would agree up until 2021, but that was the year that the Atlanta Braves won 104 games to beat out the San Francisco Giants, who won 103 games. Probably one of the most gripping pennant chases that we will ever see. And as a Giants fan, this was before Sports Channel was a thing. Remember that way back in the day? Sports Channel. This was way back before ESPN was carrying these games. If I wanted to follow along live and see what the Atlanta Braves were doing, I could flip back and forth between my local broadcast of the Giants games and flip over to TBS and watch what was going on in the Braves game. The ability to do that, I think, really was the precursor to multi-streaming, online streaming, being able to, on NFL Network, being able to stream up to 8 games at once or 4 games at once or however many games at once you can stream. So many things that he did, with the benefit of hindsight, you can look back and say, he was the grandfather of this. He was the grandfather of this. He was the grandfather of this. I already brought out my streaming argument. He was the grandfather of 24-hour cable network news. He was the grandfather of bringing back classic movies that, for the most part, would have been pushed by the wayside. And if you walked into a video store, chances are there were plenty of copies of Magnificent Seven still sitting on the shelf. No one was renting those movies. But because he was putting those on the air,
TCM.
they were getting the attention that they deserved. So a brilliant man, brilliant businessman, philanthropist, just an innovator in media way ahead of his time. And I think the world, even though he's sold to Time Warner, I think the world is a little less bright because that level of creative genius does not come around very often.
Turner surrounded.
Eddie,
Go ahead.
Before you go, I just want to mention a couple other things. You may do this, but Ted said that beautifully about the expansion into streaming based off what he did with cable. I was going to mention that. Turner Classic Movies is still one of the 10 most watched cable networks to this day. And as Ted said, he unearthed a lot of golden age Hollywood that people have the opportunity to see for the first time and still does to this day. They do beautiful things around Halloween and Christmas with marathons like you would see back in the day. But also for me personally, getting to watch the NBA, because as we know, until Larry Bird, Magic Johnson came into the league, the NBA was on tape delay
pretty much
on CBS. Ted Turner around 1985 via TBS and later TNT gave the NBA a platform with Hubie Brown, Bob Neal, Steve Snapper Jones, legendary voices. And all of a sudden you're getting to watch doubleheaders throughout the week of the Boston Celtics and the New York Knicks, the Atlanta Hawks, Detroit Pistons, the Mavericks and the Lakers. And that opened up the NBA a lot for me as a wee tot. But one other thing I wanted to mention, him creating the Goodwill Games, which came about due to the boycotts of the Olympic Games in the 80s. And Ted went to the Olympic Games in 84, the visit to Moscow, and was very disappointed, with the boycott, saying it was a negative outcome for both sides. And he saw an opportunity and did the Goodwill Games. They were held every 4 years with summer and winter components. So something I always thought was interesting in the summer games, figure skating, ice hockey, and speed skating were part of the summer editions. And they are not part of the Summer Olympic Games to this day, but they went from 1986 to 2001. Of course, went by the wayside via the merger, as Ted mentioned, with Time Warner. But just thinking Turner Classic Movies, the NBA being not just the Braves, but then also the Goodwill Games themselves. I mean, this guy had his finger on just about from 1973 to about 1999. As Ted said, a maverick. I don't know if anyone ever will have a 25-year run like Ted Turner. But go ahead, Eddie. I'm sorry.
Not in this day and age. Not right now. It's, it's funny because you brought up TCM, Ted, Turner Classic Movies. Sorry, acronyms. Gotta love them. And that was a highly watched channel and one of the most consistently watched channels. And if you ever found the demo that the target demo was 45, 65, 45, 75. They were saying 44 and under aren't going to get most of these. That turned out to be wrong. Because when they were doing surveys, you found out that people in their 20s were watching Turner Classic Movies. And which was, like I said, 2 decades earlier than what they thought they were going to get. Because of the timeline and the movies that they were getting clearance to show. A lot of people were like, what the hell is this? And then all of a sudden, wait a minute, I haven't seen this movie in how long? And they're showing this on TCM? Guess what? That just became one of my favorite channels. And that you heard that more often than not. We mentioned the Braves and the Hawks, and I believe he showed some of the, I believe the Flames were WHL. I may be wrong on that. I don't think they were NHL at the time. Here's the fun part of that scenario. I believe Turner does deserve a little bit of the credit for the creation of ESPN. Because WTCG, which depending on who you listen to, it's one of two things. The slogan was, watch this channel grow. The official call was Turner Cable Group, which eventually became more of a group than just a single channel. Because when Turner started that channel in 76, ESPN didn't come along till 79. So therefore, you're showing Braves, you're showing Hawks, you're showing different things throughout the course of the run in the early days. The thing that I will remember most about TCG before it became TBS, and please remember that was Channel 17, based in Atlanta, was, and living in Birmingham, I'm sitting back going, Atlanta. Okay, that's right over there. I'm still a child when all this is coming out. So I'm like 9, 10 years old when I'm discovering 10 when I'm discovering TCG and the basis of pure cable. 57 channels and nothing's on. Thank you, Bruce Springsteen. Love the song. Still after all these years. But on Saturday nights, they were showing live from underground Atlanta musical acts that, remember, as a kid, I'm listening to 960 AM WERC, 610 AM WSGN, and then the advent of FM radio in my home market. You're starting to get more FM channels that are coming on board with top 40s, as it's called, contemporary hits radio. Well, I know of all the groups that I'm hearing on the radio, and then all of a sudden I'm tuning into this on a Saturday night where I am over at my aunt's house in Vestavia, my mother's sister, and this is on, and I'm watching this with her kids. I'm going, this is really good. Because remember, we're getting CHR Top 40, Yacht Rock, and all the other stuff at the time on the commercial airways. And they're showing bands that aren't traditional. And at that young age, I'm sitting back going, I like this. That's one of the reasons why my musical preference, and I give TCG before, like I said, the early days, all the credit in the world for opening my eyes and ears to different types of music than were just on the radio. Granted, 10 years old, couldn't necessarily go to a bar and have a beer. That would have to wait 9 years. But the things that Turner was able to do. And this is where I'm going to come back, and I'm taking this perspective again from the chronologically advantaged. I think I need to go ahead and trademark that before somebody else does. I'm not old. I'm chronologically advantaged. Championship Wrestling from Georgia. Now, remember, in the central Alabama area, I'm getting the best of two worlds. I'm getting the Fuller Golden Welch promotion, and I'm also getting the Nick Goulas promotion. Well, lo and behold, I find WTCG, Championship Wrestling from Georgia. Freddie Miller, Gordon Soley, Mr. Wrestling 2, Tommy Rich getting his feet wet in all this. All the different, the Mass Superstar. So many different people, the Junkyard Dog, Ted DiBiase. Before, and it was a national platform before it was recognized as a national platform. Because in the infancy of cable, as it's starting to blossom, because there were three. You had TCG Atlanta 17, WGN 9 Chicago, WWOR or WOR 9 New York. And that's where you could see different things taking place. This is what also led to the great programming war in the early 1980s, where it was decided whoever was showing the program the longest had the rights to show it. The other two stations would block it out during that time zone, that time slot. So if you never experienced that, hey, there's an episode of Andy Griffith coming on WGN. No, it's not, because Turner had it longer in that time slot. Now, WGN could bump it back an hour and go at 2 o'clock instead of 1 o'clock and still show it. But during that same time slot, they had to rearrange because of the way that, well, you're showing this and I'm showing this and I'm showing this. And it's like, we've got to stop this. We've got to break it up a little bit. So they curtailed all that. But coming back to the pro wrestling side, Championship Wrestling from Georgia, or Georgia Championship Wrestling, was this thing that got me started about the wrestling scene in Georgia, right alongside Alabama and Tennessee. And once again, I'm a kid on this. I'm learning about all this. I wish I had some of the notes that I was taking 12, 13 years of age. I was. But without TCG, without Channel 17 TBS, without Ted Turner, it would have been forever before I could have found out about some of these stars, even reading in the magazines. the Apter mags and the Ring Wrestling magazine, stuff like that, which I still have a mountain of back issues. But once again, the things that Ted Turner was able to do, trailblazer, groundbreaker, all of the above, and you always want to be able to respect. And I agree with Ted. I think that marriage was the only thing that I just sit back and go, yeah, no, cancel that. But so many things were started under the realm of Ted Turner, and so many things that we should still be appreciative of to this day, because he proved everything grows, everything builds. It's only static for a certain amount of time. And if before evolution was even saying it, thank you, Hunter, if you don't learn to evolve with the times and expand your horizons, you're doomed to be left behind. Lesson I learned at an early age. And one of my favorite stories, I can only tell half of it. I'm working in Atlanta, 89 to 93. I think it was 91, where I'm spearheading an operation between the company I work for, John's Photo Group, and lo and behold, the Big B drugstore group, and Reed's and People's Drugs. We're starting to incorporate 1 hour photo labs into some of those stores. Yes, that's my fault, kids. Sorry, I was asked to do it and I did it well. And there was one day in particular, I'm back working on pictures, and I hear a very familiar voice. I turn around and it's Ted Turner, because the store that I was based in was on Marietta Street, 3 blocks down from CNN Center. So it was nothing for him to pop in. And the man, unfortunately, did have a short-term memory, not remembering the fact that the store that I was based out of, they took the pharmacy out to put the photo lab in. And he's like, for as much as I enjoy talking to you, I need something that only a pharmacist can give me. So I need to go over here to the 5 Points location. I said, drop by anytime. Love to talk again soon. And he did. He was that down to earth. Man, 9, 10 figures, lo and behold, will still drop by and say hi. How can you not respect that? You have to appreciate that. So when I say that we join the world in the celebration of life and the accomplishments, the achievements, and all of the above for Ted Turner, Godspeed, good sir. And I'm pretty sure that heaven has satellites, so you don't have to worry about upgrading the cable. But
well, and
go ahead.
I want to make a couple more little mentions here. I don't think we can talk about Ted Turner enough, even though I know we have the rest of the program to do. But you know, he owned the Omni, the Omni Coliseum, turning it into the CNN Center, which I've enjoyed many times to this day. But I thought about Ted Turner may have the shortest commencement speech for a graduation I've ever heard. I do believe it was Emory University in Atlanta, Georgia.
Probably.
Ted Turner's going to do a commencement speech for all the graduates. He got up and said, early to bed, early to rise, gives one more time to advertise, and walked off.
My man. Folks, tell you what, we have hit the bottom of the hour. We're going to go ahead and take our first break. We will be back on the live side, 4 minutes on the replay side, minute and a half. This is Beyond Ringside Live.